Behind the Shades.
I just finished my university degree. I studied a Bachelor of Nutrition Science and a Master's in Dietetics. So I am very proud to admit that I just graduated with my accredited practicing dietitian status. So I have been working as a nutritionist for a couple of years and have just recently started working as a dietitian for Daniel and myself's company called One Motion. So we have created a brand together that encompasses both of our professions. So Daniel I'll let him talk for himself.
Myself, I'm a personal trainer. So I've been doing personal training for the last 7 years now. Throughout that period, I've gone to study exercise science for a brief period. So I was doing a Bachelor of Exercise Science for about 18 months. And then I decided to make the shift and go more down the rehab pathway. And now I'm currently studying osteopathy. So I'm in my last and final semester of my Bachelor's of Osteopathy, which I'm very excited to, undertake a slight new career direction in and add more value to the One Motion coaching brand, and also more value to, the people we work with. Particularly in that health sector. So that's the basic rundown on what we do.
Yeah, so we've created One Motion to develop an online program at the moment tailored towards females. So it's basically a fitness, training and nutrition program that's completely done online. And hoping to, I guess, spread the word and get more females feeling stronger, healthier, and also, fueling their body correctly for what their requirements are, and trying to get rid of those fad diets and 30-day challenges and all of that sort of things that I guess is really overpopulated in the fitness industry. So our aim is to kind of debunk all of those myths and marketing techniques that you see at the moment in the fitness industry.
Get a bigger booty in 30 days, right? And the 90-day challenge.
Exactly. Yeah. Nailed it on the head.
I remember seeing those online, and the women that they would use in the marketing. At least for me, I would always wonder, are they able to obtain that type of shape in 30 days naturally? And I remember when I would read the comments, especially on Instagram, social media, I would read the comments and you almost feel like you want to say something to a lot of these women, because some of them, they give a lot of money to these things. And if they don't get the results, I could just imagine the type of mindset that they would go through, not only feeling disappointed, but maybe in a way feeling like they're robbed of their money. When you mention the both of you, One Motion, is there a specific type of women that you want to assist, or is it more broad in that sense?
So it's still quite broad, and the reason, but it's more I guess the principle that we kind of run off, and the way we kind of want females to view the training style. And that's more so towards a point of athleticism, from the training, the nutrition and the mindset point of view, is that we both are believers that, if you can adopt a mindset similar to that of an athlete, and, adopt the training program, the nutrition, and, meditation practices, or gratitude practices that really make you feel like you're on a proper long-term journey, as opposed to feeling that you're in and out for 30 days. Everything has to be drastic, fast changes with with so much intensity. Then it's hard to sustain that, and like you said, it's is it real that you can make such drastic changes in as little as like 30 days. And you can just, you can't sustain those changes, you know, like typically all those changes are is generally from a weight loss point of view, really. They're never really like you've gained a mass amount of muscle, or you know, you've gained like a bigger booty or type of thing. Like these are things that take change. These changes take, you know, months, if not sometimes years, depending on how good you I guess stick to the plan, you know. And so yeah.
Especially for females, like, you know, I often hear like, oh, I don't want to get bulky, or I don't want to put on too much muscle. And, you know, if it was that easy, everyone would, or a lot of people would end up being athletes and, you know, find that muscle gain journey very simple. And a lot more people would be bulky. But the matter of fact is it's very difficult, and it's a long journey that you need to be dedicated to end up being bulky. You know, that's a very subjective term, is different, viewed differently to many people. But you know, it's all of these changes need to be made in a long-term mindset. Otherwise, they're not going to be sustained. And that's what those 30-day challenges and all of those things, I guess, leave out, is that, you know, they have these great transformation pictures, but what next? What have they taught their clients or their females or males, you know, about sustaining and long-term longevity for their health? That's where it's lacking. So yeah, going back to your question, all females who want to make an improvement in their overall health, their overall mindset, and, you know, utilizing self-care to have, you know, more self-confidence, better mood, all of those sorts of things. You know, it's a wellness journey is the way that we like to look at it.
And I think that would include everything that anyone who's starting out needs. I don't know how it is there, but in Canada, there's a lot of jobs now because there's a lot of people working from home. And we sit all day, so we're not as active maybe we used to be when we're going to the office. And you mentioned something that I love hearing about, that especially when it's fitness related, is the mindset, is getting someone ready for that. What steps do both of you take in prepping the women that you help mentally, and then ultimately to get them to physically and to achieve the goals that the three of you set out with them?
So there's one of the biggest things is never to dismiss, I guess, you know, a person's goal and interpretation of what they want. That's probably the first thing. And, you know, completely acknowledging firsthand and meeting them where they are. Because the minute you dismiss it, they're still gonna be having those emotions towards those goals, and they're not gonna live out the journey that it takes. So sometimes it's from our point of view, it's worth allowing, you know, taking that person down that journey. If it's at first an aesthetic goal and they want to look a particular way, it's first guiding them there, and then telling them, you know, in order to like maintain this, or, you know, to get more, it's like you are capable, and just giving them, you know, that confidence, that self-confidence in themselves, that they can achieve things outside of, you know, purely an aesthetic view of things, and things that will make them, I guess, you know, feel more autonomous in their own body, you know, whether that's doing a push-up or a chin-up, or, you know, moving heavier weights from A to B. And we think that's a powerful one. So teaching people how to progress within their training, we find really is one of the biggest things to keep people motivated. So one example is, you know, we utilize an app at the moment that tracks programs, and with every person that comes on board, we make sure that they understand how, you know, how much weights they're doing and climbing in those weights. So although they might be still working towards losing the weight, they've always got this thing in the background that is progressive from a different point of view, you know. So we don't dismiss, like, you know, people are on their own journey, and that's that's one thing you can't change, you can only assist with. And it's just knowing that once they come out of that journey, you know, from both a very tangible way in terms of, you know, dropping the weight, or from emotional side of things where it's, you know, they no longer have that attachment to that goal. There's going to want to be something else out there. They're going to be a stronger human being, and they're going to want to, you know, they're going to want to, I guess, excel in different pathways. So that's probably the main thing, is like that principle that we run off. And then the tools to assist that is definitely, you know, the app, you know, encouraging meditation, goal setting, and education. Education is definitely a big one. Yeah. Education is definitely a big
because
one.
Like goal setting is always the stem and the start of somebody's progress. You know, what your goal is, why you want to achieve that, trying to, I guess, link values to their goals, that they have, you know, deeper reason and motivation to achieve that. Because if they don't have the deeper, if, you know, you want to lose 5 kilos, but, you know, just cause, like, if you don't have the deeper motivation, and you know that 5 kilos is going to make you, you know, so much healthier with, you know, XYZ, with your cardiovascular health, you know, there's lots of things that can improve. You know, if you don't have those values attached to your goal, then the journey becomes quite hard. And then if you don't have the education that's paired with your goal as well, where somebody's explaining to you that, you know, this is what happens in your body when we go through a weight loss phase, this is what you're going to be experiencing, this is what you need to expect. If somebody's not prepared with expectations and what is going to happen, then, you know, you also start to lose your trust in the journey as well, because you haven't prepared them properly as a coach. So yeah, we try to be as upfront with people as possible, so there's no surprises.
So when you mentioned, both of you, when you mentioned like goal setting and helping them on their journey, is this something that the both of you help them to design, or is it more so that you're taking in the information, or is it something else, like you're taking in the information that they give you and you're co-creating something with them?
Can be a little bit of both, really. Some people can come to you with a specific goal in mind. Others have something general, like, I just want to get fit. And then if it is more general, it might be, you know, us explaining what our specialties are and what we can provide. And they might turn around and say, oh, like, I really want to get a chin up. I didn't realize like how empowering that might be for as a female to do something like that. And then, you know, just by having general conversation with somebody can lead to them coming up with realizations that they might not have had previously. So it can be a little bit of both, definitely. I don't know if you agree.
I definitely agree. I think we assist best with, you know, an exploration for many beginners, in the sense that they don't know, they're coming to you because they don't know about health and fitness, or they don't know, they've been told they need to exercise, or they have this idea of the person they want to become or be, or they've seen, and they don't know what the journey is. They don't know what, you know, they don't know what a healthy body weight is to be for their height, you know, or for at their age. And so you definitely have to cue people, and we definitely help people through that journey. But, you know, at the same time, that journey shifts quite a lot. And it's quite surprising that, you know, where somebody's goal is in the first week, 6 weeks later, they realize maybe the work that it takes, or maybe the way it makes them feel, isn't as good as they thought it would be. And therefore, you know, their motivation and their desire really shifts, and they come to this realization of like what's more meaningful to them. And that's really common. That is really common. And as coaches, again, you're just exploring that path and the journey with them, and then assisting them to really find themselves in that way. And that's where the mindset becomes so important, because if you don't give somebody the opportunity to look inward, it's years later that they'll figure that out. it's years later that they'll figure that out. So
I went through something similar, and I could have definitely used the two of you to help me out. Where when I was going to the gym, I just wanted to, my goal was to be 200 pounds, like a strong 200 pounds. And then as I was approaching 180, 185, because one of the stumbling blocks that I experienced was I wasn't eating enough food to get to that point.
Mm.
And then when I got to 180, because I used to be 140, so I used to be really lean. And then I went all the way up to about 185 in a year.
oh wow.
Because I was just eating I probably doubled or tripled my input for my food, right? And then I didn't reach 200 pounds, but then, as you mentioned, I had a shift. I started thinking, why don't I just become strong and fully functional? Because I felt bulky, because I was never that heavy in my life,
Mm.
but I just felt this bulk. And then when I started to do pull-ups, chin-ups, when I was lighter, I can do so much more, but I wasn't as strong to lift my own body because I had additional 45 pounds on me, right?
Yeah.
So I changed that completely. And when you both mentioned that, it got me thinking. In my mind, I had that stumbling block. People will call it peaks and plateaus, right?
Mm.
When you're dealing with your clients and you engage with them, is it you can co-create the journey, as you mentioned? It's a little bit of both. You're either creating it for them or you're co-creating it with them as well. But when it comes to the mental aspect, how do you tackle that with your clients?
Um, so do you mean, for yourself, for example, you were struggling with, I guess, getting to a particular weight and then noticing the changes that you had in the gym, or maybe, your clothes didn't fit the same way, pushing past that mentality? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. So as I was reaching that goal, I wasn't as functional as I
Yeah.
was when I was lighter. So mentally now I started to think, do I continue to my goal up to 200 pounds, or
Mm.
do I try to be fully functional? Because let's be honest, I wasn't doing it to become a bodybuilder,
Yeah.
right? So why be that big when you can't move?
Exactly. So it kind of comes down to what I was saying before as well, with your goal setting. Having those values attached to your goal is really important, because, saying you want to be 200 pounds is great for direction, and for us to know that, the next step is to then, increase your training intensity, increase your calories, yada, yada, yada. But the progress to that goal, if you've never been 200 pounds before, you don't know what that looks like on your body, right? So it's good to acknowledge that we might get to 180 pounds, and that might be the ideal picture that you thought 200 pounds was going to be looking like. So I guess understanding that, your goal is always will not always, but it may change depending on if you haven't been there before. And then it comes down to your values attached to the goal being, for you, do I want to look this way, or do I want to be fully functional? Because if I want to be fully functional, then maybe my main goal isn't 200 pounds. So readjusting as we go and as the mindset changes, is really important, so that you're not pushing yourself to become 200 pounds just so you can aesthetically look a certain way. Because if you acknowledge that your goal isn't actually aesthetic based, then that changes everything. It changes your ability to train well. If you're unable to do push-ups or pull-ups anymore because you weigh a certain amount, then maybe we need to readjust our goals. So yeah, I don't know if you want to add.
I think, like it's always a very difficult question, because it's always individualized to many people. And one of the things I like to bring up with like particularly coaches, when I'm in conversation with coaches, is the typical thing of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I don't know if you've heard of this the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it kind of organizes like a lot of people's lives in terms of like where they sit, you know, and what they need most before they can attain, I guess, like optimal levels of achievement in their life. And, you know, with the basic foundation at the bottom being, you know, a house over your head, food, security, etc. And then as you go up the ladder, then you have, you know, relationships, connection, etc. And then, you know, once you have those, you know, within your life, you can move towards the next layer where it's, you know, finding your full potential, etc. And so that concept in my frame of mind is like where I tend to like ask the person, you know, you wanted to be 200 pounds, for example, what was that 200 pounds there for? You know, if let's say you're a single person with no family, no connection, and it's like, okay, maybe the deeper reason behind this is to find, like they were doing that to find connection, to find culture, to be part of a group of people within the gym, to find a partner, a relationship. And they believed innately that by getting to that goal, that would attract those types of people into their life, you know. And along that journey, maybe let's just put an example, a hypothetical. Let's say 170, you found that partner and then you kept going on the track, but innately that innate reason why you started has already been fulfilled, and no, like the goal externally and out there is in your mind, but you don't have as much care or as much passion to get there, you know, because that inner self isn't trying to really go there. It's just something you created and something you didn't really understand or didn't create enough connection to fully understand it. And so all of a sudden feeling better becomes the want, you know. And so it's a lot about exploring that with people and getting to the understanding of like where they are in life. And if they have those walls around them, you know, the security, they've got the family, they've got the relationships, they don't seem too stressed out, then it's really just an education thing. It's just a matter of, it's like, okay, that person just didn't quite understand that goal, that concept, or what that meant to them. And so like they actually care about feeling better. And now it's like, it's okay, it's time, let's digress this back into, you know, a comfortable 160 or 165 or something like that pounds. And let's get you back to your pull-ups and let's start working on some skills, some things you can play with that make you feel more autonomous, and, you know, you can enjoy and explore life a little bit better with, you know. And yeah, so that's a kind of long way to answer that question, but I thought it helps paint the picture a little clearer as well. Like it's not a small answer at the same time, because everyone's so different, you know. We all come from different walks of life, and therefore, you know, to kind of, you know, give it just a one size fits all approach, it never quite works. So.
And I like that because I think that's what happened to me, that as I was approaching the end of this journey, as you so well put, something else happened. The fulfillment that thought I was going to feel at 200, I got it before I reached 200. And then I made that switch. And what I wanted to point out is that I think that's the beautiful thing about the journey, where as you both put it, that you start off with this endpoint, but it's one of the only situations where when you're creating the journey, you're doing it from the end backwards. Right? Like let's say when you're going on a road trip, you pack your suitcase. I want this clothing, this item, my toothbrush, my comb, everything. But when it's like the weight loss journey, you're saying, I want to get here. Build yourself backwards. I need to maybe think about this and maybe think about that. But all along the way, it may change. You want to lose 15 pounds, you lost 5 pounds, and now you feel as good as you felt that you would have lost 15 pounds. Is that what happens with some of the clients you both deal with?
Yeah, definitely. It's also interesting because like I notice with a lot of females, like it's very aesthetic and very aesthetic and weight orientated at the beginning. And yeah, like you said, as they go on that journey, they realize like how fun it is to actually train and to get stronger at, you know, squats, pull-ups, whatever the exercise is. And they start to love the journey, and they start to really become grateful and appreciative of the journey it takes to become like healthy and be at optimal health and optimal energy levels. And because that's what we're striving to be, right? We're striving to be the healthiest version of ourselves. So yeah, definitely people's goals and change all the time. Mine does. Ours does with business. We just took a complete different turn last night. Our, goals and everything just changed. So it's normal, and it's part of growth. If somebody can't goal set and accept the fact that these are going to change and go through the motions, then they're going to be stuck in that same goal for a very long time.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I like to put things into like simple analogies, and like, let's say you had in mind to drive somewhere, and you didn't have maps. You weren't as fortunate to have maps, and you knew it was in kind of one direction, and it's like, so you turn down this left street thinking it's there. You find that's a dead end. You come back out, and it's like okay, well, it's definitely not there. So I'm going to keep going straight along this road. You turn down the next left, and it's like, well, it's not there, and I keep going. But you're constantly traveling closer to the direction, I guess, that brings you happiness and fulfillment. And you just keep trekking along. You go through the motions, and if you can do that faster by, again, having some self-awareness of what you're doing, and setting some goals, setting at least some form of direction, because again, like driving, if you didn't have that first direction, then you wouldn't even turn the car on, because it doesn't make any sense, and that's the same thing. Like, you're not going to start with fitness, with health. Like, if you don't even pick that 200 kilos, like, you've got no reason to even walk into the gym, so you've got no reason to even go there. And then to realize now that, for instance, you like doing more pull-ups, more functional health, it's like you're getting closer and closer to your journey in terms of physical well-being. And it's the same with dealing with any client, let's call them clients, or any person, is that you are on a journey, and that journey has trumps, and it has peaks, and you just have to, at the end of the day, you have to bear with it when times are bad. And then, you go through the cycle, you go through the washing machine, and then you come out a little bit cleaner and can see things, but yeah, it's, for us, I think helping people to realize that's a normal journey is a massive thing for their own mental well-being and their emotions, and to ease people through that process, because ourselves, like, we went through that without that level of education. Now going and studying as much as we have, working with as many people as we have, we understand this is just a natural thing, and normalizing that for people, I think, helps a lot, because most people will believe that they're only meant to move upward, and the scales are probably, I think, are the best example of that is, somebody who has a goal to lose, let's say 5 kilos, loses 2 kilos one day, gains a kilo the next day. And one day they were extremely happy because they lost 2 kilos. The next day they're extremely upset because they gained another kilo, not realizing that overall the weight loss is still 1 kilo,
it's not linear. It's never linear. So
yeah, so and you're still up from where you started, but because you're down from like a couple of days ago, and just normalizing that journey, it's because there's so many factors that play a role: stress, the amount of salt in your food, your level of activity in your day, your work life, your sleep, all of these things. If you're a female, your menstrual cycle, god damn it, like, it's massive. Like, so just normalizing that journey, I think, is massive for people to clear their mind and make it a little smoother and easier.
A little bit more fun on the mind too, because otherwise it just gets hella stressful, and it doesn't need to be such a stressful journey either. It can be fun.
Yeah, and definitely. And what I want to do is I want to touch on the menstrual cycle and the impact that that does have on women. When you guys mentioned the menstrual cycle for women, how how much of an impact that does that play in regards to their fitness? And as we segue into their nutrition, how impactful is that?
Um, so if somebody isn't on, any contraceptive pill and they're, on they're going through the motions of their usual cycle with, no interruptions with a pill. If Let me start by saying if you're fueling your body correctly and your nutrition is pretty much on point, you might not experience what I'm about to say because you're fueling yourself properly at every stage of your cycle, and your energy levels are always optimal, and you've kind of reached that balance and that place that your body is content, right? But sometimes what can happen is our hormones change throughout the month. It's not a 24 hormonal cycle like males go through. It's a 28 to 30 days hormonal change, which means that we have ups and downs, and all of that stuff can definitely affect our mood, our weight, our energy levels, the way that we perform in training, at work, all of those things. So what can happen is, our first week of our cycle is obviously our bleed week, which can be quite fatiguing for females simply because, we're bleeding, we're losing blood, we're losing nutrients. So fueling at this point of time with higher carbohydrates, higher meat products, or iron-rich foods is really important, as well as, sleep quality. So sleep is a really important part of it as well. So making sure your sleeping environment and habits is, structured and routine can really benefit your energy levels as well. As we come off our bleed week, our hormone estrogen rises, and so does testosterone. And what we all know is testosterone gives us a really nice spike in energy and confidence, and feeling strong. Like I experience feeling quite strong and being able to reach, weight that I haven't been able to reach 2 weeks ago when I'm training at that stage of my cycle, which is really nice. So what I sometimes do is, if I do feel like my hormones are impacting me, I can train with my cycle. And what I mean by that is I alter the amount of reps I do, or how hard I'm pushing myself with what weight I'm adding onto the bar, because I know that I'm fueling myself properly and my hormones are at this stage at the moment that it's giving me that spike in energy and confidence and strength. And then as we taper on towards, the end of our cycle, so in the luteal phase, it's called, our hormones do drop and progesterone rises, which can make us susceptible to needing more rest. Our body temperature rises, which when our body temperature rises, it means that our metabolism also rises. So we start craving more food. Females talk about craving carbohydrates like the week before their period. And that's a real thing, simply because our our body temperature has risen. Our metabolic rate has increased by 5 to 10%, which means that if we're not eating 5 to 10% more calories throughout that time, which, most people are not aware of, then the cravings kick in because our brain isn't being fueled properly. Our organs aren't being fueled properly. Our body's working in overdrive and we're not, providing it with enough food, and sugar is the first craving that happens in that time. So it comes down to, proper nutrition strategies. And if we adapt with our cycle, we notice that our symptoms go down. We don't experience pain. We're not as fatigued because we're sleeping properly and we're fueling correctly. It's not normal to be experiencing painful symptoms with our periods. It's very common. Majority of females do experience painful periods, but it's not normal. And training well and eating, with your cycle can mitigate all of those pains. Yeah. It's a very complex topic, and like we said before, with goal setting, it's individualized to every female. So it's hard for me to give a straight answer, but yeah, it comes down to the correct nutrition and training practices.
So I think that's why you both are there, because it's not an easy fix. It's not a band-aid solution. And you both, and I think that's been the theme of this interview so far, where it's longer than 30 days, it's longer than 90 days, it's different person to person, and it's a unique situation because, yes, many women during the menstrual cycle, they may experience pain, but it's not normal despite a number of women experiencing it. And as you mentioned, Daniel, that um, it's tailored to the person, right? It's not that I have a program, let me ship it out to 1,000 people. It's no, let me understand you. Let me help you understand your body. Then let's work this journey together. Going into the future, and you're continuing to work with women, what ideally do you want them to accomplish through your assistance?
That's a tough question because it's never about us, right? It's really about what they want to accomplish, ultimately deep down. And so what we want to accomplish is creating really a program that helps people to kind of helps females particularly find their place, in the weight room, and being confident, finding ease with nutrition and creating healthy habits with it. Just being able to confidently say, it's like, yeah, I do strength training, and I eat whatever I want, and I don't feel bad about it. I don't have to feel emotional about it. Like, yes, my weight fluctuates from day to day, but I know it's normal. So, I'm just going to keep moving as I'm moving. And I think that's probably the biggest thing we want to accomplish, is just like normalizing what it means to have healthy habits within your life. And that's how we wake up. We don't, we track our food and our calories, but we have no connection to it being bad or good. If we overeat, we overeat. But tomorrow's another day. If we don't get to train, we don't get to train. Like, tomorrow's another day. And just making those feelings normal, and just not emotionally feeling like, you all of a sudden need to start binge eating or doing binge amount of cardio to repair some problem that you think exists, but it's just reverting back to the normal. Tomorrow's just another day. Just go back into it, and just know that maybe your body needed that food. That's why you ate that way, or you wanted, purely wanting to have a cocktail, like, because you want to have a cocktail because you're with some friends. Like, have the cocktail. It's cool. It's like, the nutritional strategies, and what's required to kind of normalize things again. Like, it's not
about
big
punishment
thing.
either.
Yeah, don't punish yourself for what you haven't done that's wrong. So I think that's a massive thing that we want to try and accomplish ourselves, and from a bigger picture. But ultimately, it comes down to the people that are on the program, and them going through their own journeys, and having as much knowledge as we can give, and as many tools as well, having as many tools and as much knowledge that it takes to get them there. So.
And like we said before, like, goals change, right? So if we notice that, there's lots of females that are tailored to that, are speaking about particular topics, like, there's, by all means, like, programs also change to suit our audience. So we really, like, need to keep that in mind as well. With we need to move with our audience and tailor everything to them. So yeah. that was what I had to say.
Do you find it difficult to get someone out of the state of mind of punishing themselves if they have a day where they may eat something that they're like, I shouldn't have that cake. I shouldn't have those cookies. Is that difficult with your clients?
It's hard. The mind's a very, very strong and powerful thing, but it's really about breaking down pieces at a time and providing, education, because at the end of the day, providing facts is the only thing that's going to, not the only, but one of a strong way to break somebody's habits is saying this is, what research shows, or this is, proof by what other people have done, etc., to try and break those habits. And sometimes it's not even about, if somebody's quite sensitive about overeating or binge eating or, whatever you want to name it, it might not even be about addressing that particular thing in the session or in the consult, but addressing, are you fueling yourself properly for the rest of the day? Because if you're not and you're severely under eating, then that might be leading to your binge eating. So sometimes indirectly as a coach, adding in little strategies by adding in extra snacks here and there, and, suggesting to have more at dinner or, more at lunch, without actually saying you're doing this because you overeat at night. But, adding those little strategies in that will end up changing their habits over time without them realizing that you're intentionally suggesting and doing that. That's I guess a little bit of a perk of being a coach. You can try, you have their best interest at heart. So sometimes it's breaking that mindset in an indirect way.
Yeah, and I think also to add to that, also being patient as a coach as well. It is difficult when you deal with clients or people that are, that bring emotions to the table, and it's hard to not feel for them people as they go through those emotions. And, you sometimes feel like the best thing to do is to speak about that topic, but sometimes what you do is you heighten the importance of it in their mind, and you make things worse, because you're constantly talking about it. And this is very, very true when it comes to injuries. And if you constantly ask somebody about their injury, it's hard not to fixate on something that somebody keeps asking about or speaking about, right? And so you have to sometimes be patient enough to be like, all right, this person's very, very new to this. Like, they're still just going through the emotions and they're asking the questions. But just again, back to normalizing those feelings and then moving on. And, we're big believers in that progress leads to progress. And so if, they're seeing progress in different avenues, and this is why we have a few different ways to be able to make the progress, as opposed to just weight loss or aesthetic views, is, it's through habit tracking as well. So it's like, have you ticked off, your meditation? Have you hit your hydration for the day? Have you, did you go up in weights in this session? And so if people tend to see, if they're focused on 5 things and 3 things are making progress, at least you've got other things to shift the focus back to that are in a positive direction. And over time, if you're training, if you're doing your meditation, if you're doing your hydration, but the body image and the weight goal isn't there yet, give it 3 months or 6 months, and it's going to be much better anyway. So you tend to try to focus on those few things that are bringing in positive energy, and particularly in the initial stages where motivation is really, really important. And then once discipline becomes the common thread, then everything just solves itself. But in the earliest days, it's kind of just making sure that the person's not too fixated on those what will look like in hindsight minor issues.